Hey everyone, it's Jason from GameRave.com, and this is GameRaveTV. So with this episode, we begin the journey on our newest series, the 27-letter Lament. With the letter Legacy, we chose one game from each letter that you just had to play. With the Lament, we take one game from each letter and show where things went wrong. Note that this isn't game bashing. Any fool can trash talk a game. This is constructive criticism, a few decades too late. Unlike the letter Legacy, we don't have any runner-ups, but the letter S did prove curious in that many of our finalists followed a pattern. While it's obvious from the show we went with Samurai Shodown III, some other games that almost made it were Street Fighter the Movie, Street Fighter Alpha 2, and Star Wars Masters of Terra-Kasi, which I lovingly refer to as Terra Crappy. All of these are fighting games. Food for thought for a later episode. So, Samurai Shodown 3 from the Neo Geo, a sequel that even in its original arcade version had split reviews. The game took a darker turn. Most of the comical characters we are accustomed to, like Earthquake, were sent packing. The most notable change, however, came in the form of the game's new personality choice and combat system. Players could now choose between Bust and Slash to change up the character's fighting style. The combat system's button layout now gave all three punch levels their own button, leaving the fourth for various kick styles. The game's visuals continued SNK's legacy of insane animation frames and vibrant, flashy outcomes, so you can imagine the shock at what happened when it came home to the PlayStation version. That is where this episode Lament comes from, the butchering of the game's animation. Let's start with the Neo Geo arcade version. Look at that silky smooth animation standing pose. You can feel the tension in his movement. Now, we port the game to the Neo Geo CD, and so far everything's pretty good. Sure, a frame or two is missing, but we've got it intact. It still looks great. Here's where the chaos begins. When SNK ported the game to the Japanese PlayStation, the system's RAM and somewhat pickiness with 2D proved quite a problem. Where some of the data compression or perhaps scaling could have saved space, SNK simply decided to chop off animation frames. Almost all of them. Our fighter has been reduced to 4 frames of animation. To try and offset that drop, they also slowed down the animation. This resulted in the entire game being slowed down and looking like it was running in slow motion, and truth be told, it was. Fierce attacks would sometimes grind the game to a screeching halt, throwing off timing and the fight's pace. When it came time for the promised US release, Sony's American development team must have realized the disaster they had on their hands. Rather than cancel the import, they tried their best in getting the game up to snuff, with some curious decisions. The main one being that they kept the same number of frames, but instead sped up the timing, and then sped up the whole game. Now, instead of a game having a visually slow appearance, it was a frantic, jumpy one. With Samurai Shodown's abysmal American release, despite the King of Fighters 95 doing really well, Sony ended up canceling the planned Fatal Fury Real Bout conversion. It wouldn't be until H-Tech brought over King of Fighters 99 3 years later that we'd see another SNK game come home to the US PlayStation. Alright guys and gals, that's all the time we have for this week. The letter T will be our next Lament in a few weeks. Note that there will not be a pause mode next week, as I'll need to get more time for some of the Back to the Future projects up and loaded, so yay, more game pages. That being said, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great one, guys. Take care.